Merry Christmas to all our hardworking men and women in the corrections field, and also to all first responders worldwide. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and thank you for your sacrifice of working holidays for us to protect us. I put together a little story of a Christmas day for a correctional officer. This story can vary, of course, from day to day, from holiday to holiday, but it kind of paints the picture of what a correctional officer thinks and goes through while working on holidays away from family, friends, on all loved ones. Christmas Day for a correctional officer. It was the night before Christmas, and the correctional officer was snuggled in bed, but had no visions of sugar plums dancing in his or her head, tossing and turning all night, knowing the Christmas shift roster would be very tight. The officer realized working holidays comes with a job, and just like all first responders, it is our duty to serve and protect families in their community on holidays and every day. It was just the thought of not being able to see the family wake up in the morning with the big smiles on their faces, yelling, "Merry Christmas, everyone." You see, the officer would be on the way to work, headed for the jail or prison hours before sunrise, and would not be home until after sunset. The family will save a plate of Christmas meal for the officer that evening, but Christmas is just not the same without everyone at home. The holidays may heighten the anxieties at home, but a strong family will learn to adjust to their correctional officer's way of life. The officer arrives at work and walks to the control room with the potluck dish in hand for the Christmas lunch. Someone yells, "Just place the dish on the meeting room table. We'll do our best and try to get everyone relieved around noon so you could come up and get a plate." The officer goes to the dorm and properly relieves the night shift officer, who is so eager to get home for Christmas Day, he or she is almost in a full run to the car. Count is cleared and the inmates are still sleeping, and soon the dorm will be in full action with inmates yelling, "Hey CO, I need this. What time is it? Do we get turkey or ham for Christmas this year?" Mid-morning, Master Control announces over the radio that the approved citizen volunteers have arrived with Christmas gifts for the inmates. Supervise accordingly, they announce. Afterwards, the midday count takes place, and the chow time for the inmate population is conducted. During the count, the officer finds an inmate hanging in his cell. The officer announces via radio that assistance is needed. An inmate is attempting suicide. The officer grabs the inmate by the legs and pushes up, taking the pressure off the inmate's neck. Other officers arrived with the emergency cutting tool and cut the bed sheet off the inmate's neck. The inmate is taken to the medical department and survives. Christmas Day and holidays bring about spikes in depression, suicide, and violence among the inmate population, making holidays extremely difficult for officers to work their shifts. The life-saving officers working the suicide have finished their written reports and are now properly relieved to go get that plate of food from the potluck Christmas meal. The food must be reheated in the microwave, but that does not matter to the very hungry officers. As the officers have little time to eat, they sit and think about their families back home on this Christmas Day. Suddenly they hear the sergeant say, "Eat up, let's go. I have 2 more dorms of officers to relieve for chow." Back in the dorm, the 12-hour shift slowly moves on, and it seems slower, even slower on Christmas Day, with family eagerly awaiting at home for the safe return of their correctional officer. The afternoon count approaches, and the inmates have had their Christmas meal and are watching TV, playing cards, or sleeping after burning off some energy in the recreation yard. The officers yell out, "Count time, count time. The sooner you're in, the sooner you're out." After a clear count, the inmates are allowed out of their cells, and it's getting close to going home time for the officer. It is now 5:36 p.m., only 24 minutes left before the relieving shift comes on and the officer can go home. A fight breaks out in the dorm. The officer calls for assistance and waits for backup before entering this dangerous situation because the officer is outnumbered 100 to 1 or more. The officers have taken control now of the situation, and everyone is checked for injuries by the medical department. Now, once again, it is report writing time. All of the officers that responded to the inmate fight will be late getting off shift on this Christmas Day. The officer finally arrives home late, Christmas Day evening, after calling ahead to his family, explaining why he or she was late, or would be late. With open arms, the supporting family greets their loved one. The officer must set aside all the incidents that occurred on this day and walk into the family home with a big smile. The Christmas Day evening will go by very quickly for the officer as he or she must return to work at 6 a.m. the very next day. We must all take a moment over the holidays to recognize the brave men and women who work behind the walls to protect our families and citizens. They control the inmate population with only handcuffs and pepper spray. Seriously outnumbered, sometimes more than 100 to 1. The dangers are real. Lord, protect our fellow officers, our unsung heroes. Thank a correctional officer, Christmas Day and every day. Merry Christmas, everyone, to all people watching my videos, to the world. God bless all of you and stay safe. True Prison Stories. Please subscribe.